You can push through a full day of work or study and still have something left in the tank. But a couple of hours of socializing, and you feel like someone unplugged you from the wall. Your body gets heavy. Your brain gets foggy. You start looking for any excuse to go home. People might tease you about having a tiny social battery or being antisocial, but they don't see how much your mind is doing in the background. Every minute you're around other humans. Psychology says this isn't just you being weak or overly dramatic. Your brain is wired to process social situations in a deeper, more intense way. And that intensity uses real energy. When you understand what your nervous system is actually doing in those moments, you stop blaming yourself for being tired and start respecting the emotional work you quietly perform. One big factor is cognitive load. That's just a fancy way of saying how much information your brain is juggling at once. At work, you might be focused on one task at a time, but in a social setting, your brain is tracking faces, tones of voice, background noise, body language, when to speak, what to reveal, what to hide, and how you're coming across, all at the same time. Research shows that introverts and deep thinkers often process information more thoroughly rather than quickly skimming. So while someone else might breeze through a conversation on autopilot, your brain is analyzing, filtering, and evaluating. That simple hangout is actually a multi-tab mental operation. And of course, that burns through your mental energy faster. Then there's sensory processing sensitivity, the trait many highly sensitive people share, where the nervous system takes in more detail from the environment. If you notice the hum of the air conditioner, the flicker of the lights, the overlapping conversations, the scent of someone's perfume, and the tension in people's faces, your system is getting bombarded with signals. Psychology calls this being more finely tuned rather than fragile. But the cost of that tuning is overstimulation. Your brain can only handle so much input before it starts to feel overloaded. That feeling of wanting to shut down or escape after social time is often your nervous system kindly saying, "I've hit my limit, I need quiet to reset." Another piece is self-monitoring, the ongoing habit of watching yourself from the outside. If you're someone who is aware of how you sound, what your face is doing, whether you interrupted, whether you were too quiet, your brain is running a live performance review while you talk. Research on social anxiety and high self-consciousness shows that this internal camera view can double the mental effort of even basic interactions. You're not just there, you're also constantly checking if you're too much or too little. That kind of constant adjustment is exhausting, but it also means you're considerate and aware of your impact, which is a strength, even if it drains you. Your default mode network, the brain's introspective system, also plays a role. This network turns on when you daydream, reflect, or think about yourself and others. For deep thinkers, it can be very active, which means even after you leave a social situation, your brain keeps working, replaying what was said, processing emotions, and integrating new information about your relationships. So while someone else might leave the party and mentally switch off, you leave and start a quiet debrief in your head. Your rest time becomes more work, and by the next day, it feels like you've run an invisible marathon. And then there's emotional labor, the unseen work of managing not just your own feelings, but sometimes everyone else's too. If you're the person who senses when someone is uncomfortable, who softens your words so no one gets hurt, who listens more than you speak, or who feels responsible for keeping the mood okay, your nervous system is constantly adjusting. Psychology links this to high empathy, and sometimes to old patterns where you had to keep peace to stay safe. It explains why even enjoyable socializing can leave you strangely empty afterwards. Your heart has been on duty the whole time. So if you feel more tired after socializing than after a full day's work, it doesn't mean you're broken, antisocial, or weak. It usually means your brain processes more deeply. Your senses pick up more details. Your self-awareness runs high. And your empathy is doing quiet, continuous work in the background. You're not failing at being social. You're just paying a higher energy price for showing up so thoughtfully. Next time you feel yourself crashing after being around people, instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" try asking, "What did my brain and nervous system just carry for me?" And if you want more videos that explain your so-called quirks with real psychology and real compassion, subscribe. Share this with the one friend who always needs to go home early. And keep learning that needing rest is not a flaw. It's a sign of how deeply you engage with the world.